Good afternoon, dear audiences. It is a fine Friday, different kinds of celebrity moods in the air. Post Dasara, Eid ul Milad Mubarak, Eid ul Milad Mubarak, and Diwali preparations. Amid all this, it is my pleasure to welcome you today to the official kickoff of the BW Marketing White Book Month. Internally, we call this a month long festival too, which is dotted with highly concentrated doses of marketing insights that will play out over the next 4 weeks. I am Nur Fatima Warsia, the Group Editorial Director of BW Business World. I have very selfishly taken the mic today to be your host. It is my first time doing this, so be nice to me. I will tell you more about the forum, but let me tell you a little bit more about Business World. Business World, led by its chairman and editor in chief, Dr. Anurag Batra, is the fastest growing business media house in India. With a network spanning across 15 niche business communities and 8 magazines, BW Business World is entrenched in various verticals in the domestic as well as global business ecosystem. In fact, by the end of today, we will be making one more announcement in this context, so please stay tuned for that. Now, let me tell you more about the Marketing White Book. Like every proud owner, I'm very hopeful you have heard about it. The Marketing White Book is among one of our marquee initiatives. This is the 16th year that we are celebrating this platform. But this year, we have had to turn things around a bit, but naturally. This year, we have designed a schedule that especially caters the virtual formats we are in. The run up to the launch begins today and will go on till November 26 and 27 when we officially launch the book in its digital avatar, physical and digital. By the end of this, we would have clocked 24 hours of programming that would have not only deep dived in industry trends, ad spend movements, state of the marketing world, but also several sectors on how they move in the time to come. We have a very interesting theme this time. We spent a lot of time designing it. It's called the Recession Proof Marketer. Some of you may have already seen it in all the announcements we have been doing. Resolute, resilient, and reconstructed in a robust digital economy. The COVID-19 challenge not only redefined industries, but also the very process of doing business, and it has ushered a new era of operations across functions. In fact, every expert that we have lined up will speak to you more about this, so it's still not my place to get into that discussion, but you will see that we have various sectors that will keep coming up to take this forward. Without any further ado, right now, though, I have the pleasure of inviting one of the most influential names in the Indian, and not just Indian actually, outside India as well, influential business leaders, marketing leaders, agency leaders with us today. Before I call our very awesome keynote speaker, however, I have to give a huge shout out, a huge shout out. I never get that right. I will give a huge shout out to all our people in the backstage right now, our virtual partner, Almin Vertex, and that entire team. Thank you for working so hard. And of course, my very, very dear Business World team. The biggest upside of all this is working with you. And I know all of you would have made faces by now for all the errors I did, but it is what it is. So without any further ado, I would like to call on one of our own leaders, the country manager of WPP India, Mr. CVL Srinivas, to tell us more about this recession-proof marketer. Mr. Srinivas is our opening keynote for the day. With this, maybe please have him on screen.
Thank you, Business World Group, for inviting me to do the opening keynote today. And good afternoon to all of you who've joined this webinar. I remember being at the Business World event last year, the same event, of course in person, of course having a good time meeting a lot of my friends, colleagues, and doing an interesting panel discussion. Well, times have changed, and the Business World Group, like everyone else, is ensuring that we carry on. We try and be recession-proof or COVID-proof, as they say. And obviously, thanks to technology, we're able to actually continue doing a lot of these things. So thank you once again for having me, and delighted to be with all of you. I hope all of you are keeping well, staying safe, and despite all the gloom and doom, a lot of good things to look up to. There's IPL, I'm sure many of us enjoying it. There's a festive season which is on. And for those of us who are in the northern part of the country, while yes, it's getting a bit smoggy, but it's also turning a bit more pleasant. So yeah, despite gloom and doom, there's always a silver lining. So coming to the topic for today, it's about how do you recession-proof in a digital economy. And that's what I'm going to talk about over the next 10, 15 minutes. And I'm also going to share some interesting work that has come out during this period across the WPP operating companies. So obviously, this is a recession like no other, right? I mean, they say events like this happen once in a lifetime, perhaps. Some of us have heard stories from our grandparents about the World War, and so maybe if we live long enough to tell stories to our grandchildren, we will similarly talk about this period. So it's a period like no other, because it's not just a recession led by business factors, but it's a recession which is actually led by a health crisis. And also the suddenness of change. Overnight, practically, we had to kind of clamp down and start living a completely new life in every aspect. And the fact that even now there is a lot of uncertainty. One really doesn't know, when this is going to end. We've been reading scary reports about the second wave taking its toll once again all across the US and Europe. So it's not yet time to celebrate the plateauing of numbers, I guess, in India. And the fact that it's actually quite uneven in terms of impact. It's not that everyone's impacted at the same pace, and the fact that there's so much of uncertainty around all of it. So it's a recession like no other. But they say every challenge also presents an opportunity. So while it's a tough, challenging time, maybe it's a great time to also reinvent and kind of reset our plans, so to speak. This has obviously been a period where there was massive transformation and I would say forced down upon us. A lot of these things, in fact, all of these things would have happened anyway, but obviously got very fast-tracked because of the pandemic. So it's just the way we interact with each other, the way we consume media, the way we shop, the way we, obviously all of us, most of us working remotely, the way we consume entertainment, healthcare. The number of times, I've had to, consult specialist doctors, family members, myself, over platforms. It's actually been quite, in that sense, good, because it just shows that going forward, some of these things maybe will just stick with us, and we will reduce time commuting and doing all the other stuff. So a lot of forced transformation, and you've heard this many times. In fact, it's I guess the most popular joke going on WhatsApp, which is the award for the chief transformation officer in the last 6 months probably goes to COVID-19. But what will change and what will stick? Frankly, it's still not very clear. We've seen in the last 6-7 months data points from the research that our agencies do in the early part. There was obviously a massive skew to consumption of media on digital platforms. And of course, TV viewership in India also shot up because of the lockdown. In the more recent weeks, things have been stabilizing a bit. In the early part, there was a massive shift to even the kind of goods and services which were being bought. But more recently, some of the other categories, premium categories, impulse categories, have come back into the reckoning. There was also, in terms of the kind of content being consumed or whatever else, some of that kind of stabilizing. But I dare say it's too difficult even today to kind of get a pattern out of it, because, like I said earlier, there could be another wave and there could be more challenges for us to face. So one of the things which we all need to do as marketers, as agencies, is to keep our eye on the ball and play it like ball by ball. This is a famous quote I heard Rahul Dravid once say when somebody asked him and VVS, what kept you guys going in Kolkata when you had that fantastic partnership against the Aussies? And Rahul said, just keep it simple and just take it one ball at a time, is what he and VVS kept telling each other. And I think that's pretty much what we need to do over the next many months as well. So is it a new normal? Is it a never normal? We've heard all these terms over the last many months, and again, like I said, it's probably it's both new and to some extent, I don't think we're going to settle into any kind of equilibrium in the foreseeable future. And what you see on the slide are questions that anyway come up in the mind of marketers, right? and how do you balance your time and strategy on short-term goals versus long-term benefits? How much do you focus on the core versus your new core? Speed is what a lot of people have been talking about, but value is equally important. So, how do you get that balance? How do you rely on data, but at the same time, how do you rely on gut? Because many times you don't even have time to look at data, or you need to take certain calls, to kind of just stay ahead or keep afloat. So these questions anyway get asked, but I put them up nevertheless because I just feel because of COVID, they've kind of got stretched to the limits on both sides, and hence having marketers and agencies kind of being able to manage both ends of the spectrum is crucial. Just sharing some data points of one of the researches that we've done. This is a Kantar Frohl study. In fact, just showing most people are very eager to get back to a normal life, whether it's going back to office, whether it's going back to celebrating festivals the traditional way, or whether it's shopping, like going to physical stores, etc. I think people are quite tired mentally, physically, sitting at home, just being cooped up. So I think, on the one hand, while there are all these challenges, there is also the eagerness. And I think this is also being reflected in consumption. It's also being reflected in the festive season sales that we see, people going out on the other hand. So I think while the pandemic and the challenges are kind of pulling us in, I think the basic human mentality and nature of just wanting to be out there, go out there is also a good thing, because it's not that we've given into this and we've accepted defeat. I think the human spirit is still very, very much alive and kicking if one looks at numbers like these. Which actually brings me to what I think is the most important part of what I wanted to say to all of you. While we can talk about agility, we can talk about technology, we can talk about working with multiple models, so on and so forth. If you're really talking about being recession-proof, if you're really talking about being resilient, ultimately it all starts with people, right? It all starts with people development. It all starts with how you're taking care of your employees, how you're taking care of your customers, how you're serving and taking care of the larger communities because of which you exist, because of which your business exists. So I think that's the area which needs to be dialed up the most, and we've seen that happening across the board when we talk to our clients. When I talk to many of my clients these days, most of the conversation revolves around in addition to obviously business and challenges and all of that, it's it's people and how you're taking care of your people. How you're planning to go back to office if and when you do that. So I think that's actually crept into a lot of the conversations, very rightly so. And at WPP, we've put a lot of emphasis on this in the last 6 months. In fact, if there's one area which we've really over-indexed our time, energy, and support, it's in this space, because we believe if we have to come out of this stronger, if we have to be more resilient, we can only do it if we have our employees, our family, so to speak, strong, resilient, and not people who kind of got too kind of overwhelmed by what has really happened. So there have been a whole bunch of initiatives that we've launched. We've also looked at mental health and well-being. We've looked at holistic kind of well-being. And we've had a lot of sessions. We've had a lot of external experts come and counsel our people. And I dare say that we've been able to kind of not just keep afloat, but do well, win businesses, come up with amazing campaigns. All of it in the last 6 months, thanks to our people, thanks to the resilience that they've shown. And I think that's the biggest difference, right? I mean, everything else can be created, built, bought, whatever. But this is something which actually is really the key. So what I'd like to do now is to just play a short video on a concept called the WPP Safe Room, something that we've launched recently in India, as we have done in other markets. And this is a space that gives people a safe space to actually open up, talk about the challenges they face. We have counselors, we have experts coming in from the outside, having conversations. And from the response we've got, it's obviously been extremely popular in WPP. So take a look at the introductory video to the Safe Room.
Hi everyone, I hope all of you are keeping well and staying safe. The past 4 months have put all of us through a very unique test, haven't they? We've all faced challenging situations almost on a daily basis. And despite having the comfort of the four walls of home around us, the fear, the anxiety, the uncertainty, they're all creeping through the crevices and adding to a lot more stress. So, what are we going to do about it? Well, today I'm happy to announce the launch of the WPP Safe Room. The WPP Safe Room is a space that we're creating to foster open and honest conversations where no judgments are going to be passed, where we're going to grow together and help each other out. So stay tuned to hear more about the WPP Safe Room. Until then, stay safe.
Okay, I'd like to end by sharing 3 examples of work that our agencies have done for brands over the last few months. And all of these pieces are extremely inspiring. And let me start by showing you the work done for Gillette. Autumn Grey is an agency that works on the brand. And this is a fantastic example of how, a very, very relevant kind of a campaign for a brand which helped maintaining its saliency even through this lockdown period, and ended up doing a lot of social good. Ended up caring for an extremely important community, that like many other communities got affected by COVID, which was the Baba community. I'm sure you've noticed this and you've seen the work, but I just like to play this as a piece of very, very inspiring work that came out the last few months.
जब बेफिक्र होकर बैठते थे उस तरह के सामने, वो भी शामिल थे हर जीत हर हार में। टूटे दिल की दास्तान जब उनको सुनाई, कैंची की करामात चेहरे पे मुस्कान लाई। कभी बेरंग जिंदगी में थोड़ा रंग भर दिया, किसी के कंधे से चुटकी में बोझ हल्का कर दिया। इंटरव्यू के पहले की घबराहट यहीं आकर मिटाई, चाय पे चर्चा भी यहीं होती नजर आई। जवानी गुजर जाती है कईयों की यहाँ, बताओ ऐसा तख्त ताज और कहां? पर जहां उस शोरगुल में मन को शांति मिलती थी, वहां अजीब सा सन्नाटा छाया है। उनकी आमदनी के साथ उनकी उम्मीदों पे भी ताला नजर आया है।
इस लॉकडाउन के बाद हमारी लाइफ पे जो शटर लगा है वो तो उठ जाएगा, मगर हमारे बार बार दोस्तों के आने वाले कल पे जो शटर लगा है उसे उठने में थोड़ा और टाइम लग जाएगा।
जिलेट का बार्बर सुरक्षा प्रोग्राम ऐसे हजारों बार्बर दोस्तों की सहायता और सुरक्षा के लिए उन्हें 1 लाख रुपए का कोविड इंश्योरेंस कवर, उनके स्वास्थ्य और दुकानों की स्वच्छता के लिए सुरक्षा वीडियोस और एक स्पेशल सुरक्षा किट देकर एक नए जज्बे के साथ उन्हें तैयार कर रहा है, ताकि कल जब हम उनसे दोबारा मिलें, वो भी हमें उसी बेफिक्री से मिले।
Well, fantastic, isn't it? So one of the insights we picked up speaking to consumers over the last few months is we've been hearing about purpose-led marketing and brands talking about doing good, etc. for some time now. But the consumer shift now is not to look at brands who are just saying it, but brands who actually do it. So I think doing good is much more important than just talking about it. This is a fantastic example, as have been several across corporate India, brands actually going in and on ground actioning stuff which is good for society, and of course the storytelling, etc. comes on top of that. But I think the core action really is what really matters. So hats off to all the brands that have demonstrated that, especially in the last few months. The next example I'm going to share with you is for Colgate-Palmolive, and the work has been done by VML Myanmar, another one of the WPP operating companies. And I like this example because it demonstrates a lot of things we talk about, in terms of how to You need to be robust, resilient, and convert a challenge into an opportunity, which is exactly what they did with the lockdown and with people getting obviously shut off from meeting specialists and dentists and so on. So this is actually an idea which brought together dentists and patients. They created a free tele-dentistry platform with a very nice, friendly interface, and got a lot of people registered at both ends and put them in touch. I can imagine the brand coming in and playing its part admirably well and very nicely executed. So take a look at VML Vayanar's work for Colgate.
For toothaches, gum problems, or any other oral care issues.
Now connect with dentists anywhere in India.
And finally, I'm going to end with an example. This is work done by Wavemaker with Zaxis, collaboration between the two Coupem companies. This is for Nokia. This is a question that is probably the most often asked question, which is, especially these days when more and more money is going towards digital media and digital channels, how do you know that it's working? How can you measure it? How can you actually ensure that I'm getting the ROI? All of us have grown up with mental models of TV and traditional media advertising, and when it comes to digital media, while theoretically speaking, it's more easily measurable, etc. But practically, in reality, marketers and agencies still haven't really developed the comfort and models in many cases. But this example disproves that, and it shows that you can actually quantify the effect of digital media. I thought it is fantastic work, and obviously we'll see more and more such cases of using technology, data, getting into micro-targeting and building campaigns which deliver extremely well on performance. Great work done for Nokia by Zaxis and Wavemaker.
Build a solid attribution model and to have a scalable media plan, we looked at Zaxis, our partners. They, through their proprietary tech and partnerships, helped us solve this business case.
David Ogilvy very famously said that half of advertising is wasted. The challenge for most of us is we don't know which half. And with digital marketing, one assumes that we'll get closer to outcomes and therefore reduce wastage. Our problem has been that to get closer to those outcomes, we have to address where and when consumers actually fall through the cracks. And that's what Zaxis has helped us with.
So that brings me to the end of my presentation. And just to summarize, we're talking about recession proofing in an era like this. And like I said, I think it starts very clearly with people development first and foremost, ensuring people are resilient. People that we work with, the people that we work for, customers, the communities that we serve, and dialing up our engagement, ensuring their holistic well-being, and all of that is obviously something we need to do before we do anything else. And this period has also shown us that beyond traditional advertising techniques and methods, focusing a lot more on customer experience, on commerce, on technology is really going to be the differentiator going forward for brands. And I dare say there's even today not that much of focus on these areas. We still see a lot of conversation time going in addressing problems the traditional ways, and we at WPP are really stepping up our efforts in this area, and as have many of our clients and many of the brands, trying to shift orientation, thinking, investment, and all of that into these areas, which will become the differentiators going forward. And of course, more than ever before, marketers, needing to be extremely commercially savvy, given the challenge on resources and given the need to try out a lot of new things, work with multiple models, and hence the commercial acumen of marketers is going to be tested like never before. And again, something which maybe has been taken for granted when times were good, but an area which needs to really get a lot of focus on all sides. And then sustainability and social impact. Consumers are clearly going to be, judging brands by the good that they do, not just what they say. And we've seen some great examples, and I shared some of them today. And I think going forward, this needs to really be built into every communication strategy and plan in terms of how does a brand or a corporate not just stand for something, but actually make a difference in society. And of course, agility. It goes without saying that these are times where one needs to almost reinvent every process in the entire marketing value chain to ensure that one is not caught napping if anything which is even 1/10 as bad as this comes up again. So I think looking at stuff through like a COVID lens or a COVID filter would help even when we are out of this. So that was what I had to share with all of you. Thank you once again for joining us today. Of course, would have been delighted to have been in your presence, and I'm sure we're all eager to kind of get back to normal mode. But till then, let's all stay safe, stay strong, and take very good care. And thank you once again to everyone at the Business World Group.
Awesome. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Srini sir. So much of insights packed in that 25 minutes, I think it was. Thank you so much, Srini sir. Srini sir has spoken about different elements of this recession-proof. Our theme is a recession-proof marketer. I am at the vantage point where I can see that all my panelists are here already. We are celebrating this set of leaders, the CMOs, the marketing heads, the marketers who have to take on a more aggressive, more active role to help their chief execs and other business partners in achieving the company's objectives. So I have an awesome panel that is in front of me right now. Actually, without any further ado, once again, I use that once again, but without any delay, let me just call them all on. They're all here. We have Mr. Ankur Ogra. He's the head of brand and acquisition for Grofers. We have Ms. Anurita Chopra. She's the area marketing lead, oral healthcare for GSK Consumer Healthcare. Ms. Bhuvana Subramanian, she is the Chief Marketing Officer at Randstad India. We have Ms. Charu Malhotra Bhatia, the Vice President of Marketing for Briloka, the makers of Hindware. We've got Mr. Hitesh Malhotra, the Chief Marketing Officer of Lenscarts.com. And we have Ms. Uma Talreja, the Customer Care Head, the Chief Marketing and Customer Officer at ShopperStop. And they're all here. They are all going to join us now. Yes, there they are. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. So awesome to see everybody right now.
Hi.
Thank you so much for making out the time. I am actually thrilled with this panel. We did a little bit of discussion on what we are talking about today. For our audience, we are putting under this panel recession proof in a digital economy. And what can easily be described as one of the toughest years for the Indian business and economy landscape, digital has come to the rescue of marketers. But I'm going to ask all of these fine panelists if the opportunities are enough to beat the expected recession. Because don't forget, we have read enough headlines that India is headed into modern India's worst recession. So are we prepared? Now, in the beginning, let's just put the foundation and let's understand how has the implication of this digital economy changed the game for the marketer? And I am, no particular order, but I think I'm going to just start with Charu. Let's go for it. Charu, what is your point of view on this? How has this entire digital economy made any kind of an impact for you as a marketer?
Well, that's a great start. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to start this session with the coveted panel members. So, to start with, I would like to mention that the right word here would be disruption. There has been a major disruption, and it would be right to quote that decades of transition has been squeezed in a couple of months. So, having said that, the acceleration of digital integration has radically transformed our business practices and, of course, the game of marketing. So I was just reading somewhere some days back. This is the third wave of digital disruption. The first one happened in 1995 and then 2000 early 2000s. But then this is the wave which is going to continue. This is the one which will have the most significant and consistent impact and a long term impact, and it's here to stay. So consumers probably who were forced into these situations are now emerging with a completely changed changed buying behavior, and we marketeers are contemplating the most what to do out of this situation and how to stay ahead of the curve. So I mean, as a marketer, I would say that end-to-end solution while hand holding the customer is very important right now. So, for example, I we are the makers of the iconic brand Hindware. We have a strong legacy of 70 years. But then to stay ahead of the curve, today we've also digitally transformed. We have virtual assistant tools on websites to all kinds of professional services of installations which are available at the click of the button, which the customer can probably kind of use right in the comfort of his home. So, if I were to take the example again from the similar industry, it was a very low involvement industry up till now. So, until a decade ago. But now, as you all know, bathrooms and bath spaces have become a key important of our homes. And this has drastically changed over last years. So, now, over the last couple of months, with this changed consumer behavior, we've seen a lot of searches, online searches that have peaked, and we've revisited our models, our infrastructure to kind of capture those leads, send it to our brand store so that we could increase footfall there. So quite surprising because a couple of months back we were all contemplating that beyond groceries and household supplies, probably the consumer is not going to spend. But then I guess they've reported a very high intent of spends across categories, and now with the Diwali season and festivities coming in, this is increasing. This is on an increasing trend. Coming back to my industry, consumers now, because they're staying more at home, they've understood the importance of homes. So they are ready to renovate the homes, renovate their bath spaces, because that's the home is their workspace, the home is their place to get together. So they want to do up their place as well. So they've kind of started focusing on that. So for our kind of an industry, it's a big thing. We need to kind of capture this particular changed behavior, and I think we are kind of just moving with the flow and doing a lot of transitions within the company.
Very cool, very cool. Uma, I'm going to get you in the conversation over here. Actually, yours is a very interesting brand. You're in Shoppers Stop right now, and we read tons of reports on how retail was one of the most stressed out sectors in the pandemic. But Uma, I know you have been a very, very huge proponent of digital. I still remember in Burger King, didn't you launch it using Flipkart or something? Wasn't there?
On
Weren't
eBay. Yeah, on eBay.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So you have always been very, very high on digital. Now, the retail must transform to online. Your own skew towards digital. How did this entire last 7 months play out for you as a marketer?
I think no company could have been prepared for this. I think nobody could have predicted this. Nobody could have been prepared for this. I'm sure all companies had their digital charters in place. But I think this is more about now agility and how agile you can be in terms of understanding the consumers, what they will need, right? And I think staying ahead on that and ahead of the competition is very, very critical. And using digital for that becomes very important. And therefore, how do you formulate your digital strategies at this point in time? I think there are a lot of ideas which will come, which probably take you into a completely new zone. But I think you got to pivot within what you already stand for, because customers want to balance some amount of comfort, which is required from a brand which they're familiar with, but new ways to actually serve, which gives them the assurance that we understand that life has changed. It's not the same. Understand their challenges and understand, what they will need. So what we've done, a few things during this time which have been critical. So we were already omni-channel, and we were already shipping from our stores, etc. Now, obviously, this came under a lot of pressure for us because most of our inventory was from stores and stores were shut. So we were impacted significantly, obviously, by stores being shut, and then we had to only serve through DCs, warehouses where maybe some stock which we were reserving. As stores have opened up, obviously this challenge did not rest for us anymore, and people have started coming back to stores as well. During this time, we've noticed that people are looking for different things. All stores may not have the common selection. So our endless aisle sales, which is our digital sales through the store, actually went up to 25% with the effort of our store staff, right, in terms of showing the range and actually making the recommendations and also getting them stock which was available somewhere else in the country. The second thing that we did, and we have a unique service, so we're the only ones who have personal shoppers, which is a more personalized service for your shopping with a lounge, etc., in the store. So personal shoppers have been in our stores for the last 2 years, so they are much more specialized in terms of understanding the consumer, analyzing the consumer needs, as well as know the product inside out, right? What we've done about 3 weeks ago is we have launched the personal shopper service on WhatsApp. So it's called the white glove service, and now you can actually shop the catalog with the personal shopper's recommendation and personal interface on WhatsApp. You can make the payment itself on WhatsApp, right? And then the goods come to you at home. So we've launched this, and that's been pretty good, and we've seen very good opt-in for that. And our personal shoppers contribute to more than 17% of our revenues in the company, and that's growing on the back of this service now. So that was the second thing. The third thing, I think we also looked at saying that, and I see Hitesh, who's ex Nika, on the panel as well, of course, but on beauty, we saw that, there was a complete shift, because now that you're wearing a mask, what do you do with lipsticks? I mean, and lipsticks is the highest selling category which is there in makeup, right? And unlike the Western and other countries where foundation is a everyday product, right? And skin is an every product in makeup, here it's not like that. That's occasional. So we recently ran a campaign on eye makeup called Eye Stoppers, where we actually launched a campaign which was aimed at beauty and artistry, using makeup artists from the store as well as consumer participation. So using video as a means, but really is trying to see if we no longer have lipstick as the lipstick effect during recession, what is it that can give women the comfort during this time, and some very powerful insights that actually back this campaign, apart from the obvious fact that you will wear a mask and therefore you cannot see lipstick anymore. So what, and it's other things that you would need, right? Some very strong insights were that, most people are now on video, and therefore, how do you actually look dressed up? Because at home you can't, it's very awkward for women to wear full makeup with eye bold lipstick, etc. So that was one, like a lot of women said that. The second, which was very interesting, is even women who are homemakers or women who are working, but let's say the child starts first, right, in the day. So when the child is starting and he's starting or she's starting his video classes, the mother needs to look awake, right? And in Indian culture, eye makeup, and the minute the woman puts on the kajal, she's awake and she's prepared for the day. So it motivates the child to be prepared for the day. Some very nice insights like that. And on the back of creativity, we launched this campaign. I was really amazing, right? We never expected. We got more than 2,500 video entries, right? Which is at least 3 minutes each, right? Very elaborate, very creative, and you could tell that how people are really longing to actually do something which makes them feel really good, right? And actually overcome this time. And I think digital is making that difference, right? In terms of really helping people to do this through different things. And I think retail can play an important part in terms of bringing that back, in terms of how consumers can actually evolve in this time and actually still have a good life which they can enjoy. You're on mute, Lou.
You're on mute.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
I was thanking God that I put my kajal today, but clearly I'm not fully awake. That being said, Uma, awesome insights, really awesome insights. You pulled Hitesh into it. In fact, he was on my target next to, and Hitesh now is at Lenskart, which is like arguably a more niche product. And Lenskart always has been very evolved with its marketing strategy. You have never gone like bonkers all out, and you have had like a more digital has been a very strong component of your plan, so to say. Now, Hitesh, just give me a sense right now. We have been, and I think Charu mentioned this, we have spoken about this entire compression of the digital transformation of the next 5 years in this 5 months, etc., etc. How does it affect consumer behavior? From a consumer behavior standpoint, what are the changes that have happened that you have to now keep in mind? I mean, Uma did have some points, but I'm trying to get a little bit more broader point of view on this.
So, Noora, thank you for this question. I had an interesting experience moving from a company that was online first, omni-channel, to a company which is offline first, omni-channel, right? And I experienced the entire movement during the COVID time, right? So I have seen both ends of the story where the store business is not that much, and online business becomes really big, and it negates every loss that you have at the store. And the other end, the online business is tiny, and the store business is 75% of revenue, and it completely blasted because the stores are not open and the lockdown is there. So now what I understand is, and we have to be students of economics, as great marketers, right? Our changes are very micro, which may not lead to a very macro change overall, right? There are a lot of statements that we are making right now in general about the digital economy is about the fast tracking piece of it is a good phenomena, but I really still don't know that what is the long term play out of it. There are 2-3 alibis which I look at, right? And we all have to look at those things to understand that how things will convert later on. So today, people sit at home, and it's fashionable to say that digital media consumption is highest, and the TV have to drop down, right? Because people are consuming media on digital. Now, still having said that, the first alibi that I'm taking over here is that the digital media consumption, the father of media right now, or the consumption that people can go is the IPL, right? And all of us are advertising over there. TV is still by far at least 16 times bigger than the digital consumption. I'm not naming the channels anyway because I don't want to do that. But wherever you see IPL online versus the TV consumption, there's still a huge difference, right? I thought the trend will become completely opposite, right? I thought maybe the digital consumption of the IPL would be 65% and the TV would be 35%. But the change has been marginally about 11 percentage base points, which TV has lost to digital, not more than that. That's alibi one. That's your baseline consumer, right? The consumer who to buy a 200 rupees pack to watch IPL, forget shopping for Lenskart or Shopper Stop or Nike or anybody else, right? Those are high ticket items, average ticket value 1500, right? So they did not even get into the 200 rupee cycle, right? To convert completely into digital, stuck to cable networks which are charging like annually 1000 or 1200 and trying to watch it on the cable TV networks. That is first alibi. Second alibi that we are talking about is India, the economy that the consumers that we are talking about are still the upper middle class strata, which is not more than like combined put together maximum about 7.2% at the worst end, right? Now these people are the people who had savings, right? So they had savings and they had enough savings to last for 6 months before something drastic happens in their life economically. So they had savings that went through the COVID period. The jobs are back, their work salaries are back, and maybe the pattern will shift back in terms of what we used to buy. If India has to grow, you actually have to go to the other set of audience, which traditionally has not done any transactions online, right? Now, the alibi which I'm talking about is that during lockdown, about 40 million additional people registered for Manrega, right? Which is basic access to food. And it is under ET report by Tanisha itself, right? You can look it out. It's its actual number. Now, these people don't have access to food. They go under Manrega. These people work in the small and medium enterprises, which represents at least 70% of Indian economy, right? Which facilitates the buying in the larger sectors like a cement or maybe iron or maybe automobiles overall, right? And automobiles also seen a drastic drop. Now, those are flashpoints which do not make you believe that the strata from that section is coming to digital easily. Now, a lot of people from the existing base did go to digital, and there was an increment. I would say not more than a double-digit percentage points, but in lower double digits, maybe a 13, 14, 15% increase. A lot of online sites, which is anyway dealing with premium customers defined by the Indian NCCS definition, saw about 15 to 20% increment continuously, and it is sustainable. And right now, it stays there, right? So if 100 rupees was a business that we were deriving out of NCCSA, digitally exposed customers or digital transactors, that 100 has become 120 and probably it will go to 130. But the 10 rupees that was coming from the traditionally non-digital savvy customers, right, who are not making transactions online regularly, at best a Paytm recharge is a transaction they make. That set is not employed in a very big way. Now, I wish that COVID did not happen, and there was another factor which was not led economic led factor, due to which we would have got this transition. I would have loved it, right? For example, suddenly there was a blackout in the cable TV network, and people had to go to digital because they couldn't understand what plans to pick. Now, that is not an economic factor, right? That is a factor which happens due to policies. When that happens, you have a greater chance of recruiting people from that strata who are not shopping online. In this case, when there's a loss of economy, right, it propels the reason for them to not buy anything, right? The only beneficiaries right now could be, again, I would say, I'm not too sure about that number, would be the digital broadcasters, right? As I said, that IPL is the biggest broadcasting right now. We have not seen massive increment. They have seen temporary increments of people subscribing to the plans, but they will go off, right? Only by the virtue of them equating the online plans to the TV plans and finding the same rate and doing it and continuing with it. Using these two alibis, my assumption is that NCCSA online business that we operate in probably would see a 20 to 22% lift. That is mainly coming from the older age group. That means age group that is educated by the younger people in the family. For example, the kid telling his parents how to shop for lens card for glasses, right? But if you're asking me, are we reaching out to a person sitting in the rural region or maybe tier 3, tier 4, who still goes to the traditional optician to buy a pair of glasses? He will still go there. And maybe some of them go online because they did not get the shops are closed, right? The shops are open, they will still go back over there itself. And this is what we need to understand. Otherwise, all of us will be very harsh to ourselves. We might promise very big goals to our CEOs, and they would say that the marketers are God sent, and they will make the company revenue to 2x or 2.5x in the next 4 months. It's not going to happen. That 3x which you're talking about, or the Chinese implosion, right, which happened with their digital economy, it happened because the buyers moved from the east coast of China, which is where the 70% of rich people say, to the core of China, which is the center of China. And the same transition India needs to see, right? So the moment the Mumbaikars, the Delhiites, the Bangaloreans are already buying it. The moment it completely moves deep inside Ranchi and Jharsuguda, and those people are buying online, that is a transition phase. This COVID is not enabling that. That I'm very sure about.
Oh my God! There was just a joke, इससे पहले, that COVID was the Chief Transformation Officer Award, etc., etc.
Your debate becomes interesting when there are contrasting opinions. Without
I love your opinion. I love it. In fact, I'm going to make Bhuvana. Do you want to challenge this guy right now, or do you agree with what he's saying?
Of course, no, very strong point of view. Of course, he's coming from his industry perspective. But clearly, Noor, if you see what Charu spoke about, or Uma spoke about, or what Hitesh spoke about, also is that this entire digital economy is, ruled by the consumer behavior, right? I mean, that's what you need to lead with. And what it means for the marketer clearly is, working closely with technology, right? That's the main thing that we all need to kind of shift
our mental dexterity too. That's the call for action for marketeers. Having said that, you also need to look at the mobile consumption that Hitesh was talking about, and that's actually taking you to the rural areas, right? And that's, I mean, I'll go back to what he was saying. Like, people will go to the actual store, but if you give offers on mobile apps, right, for Lenskart, I mean, they will
I've
buy,
given so
and
much
you and I
offer
were
that
discussing
people
this,
are saying
buying
ki now
online and
you're as
doing.
good as free. Right? Because you all got very greedy on getting these people.
Yeah,
It,
fair
it doesn't
point.
work. As I said, that the macro factors are the only thing that can get these people to us. India as a country is a little bit away from the macro factor, which is happening. Right? Macro factor, suddenly there is tomorrow a rule on a
Yeah,
so
but
whatever you
good
guys do
point
is online,
Hitesh,
right?
is
There
that
is a lobby from CAIT which will come and stand against you, right? They will say no, these people cannot discount so much. These people cannot sell private label at this price. These people cannot have a private label first business on a multi-retail shop, right? That lobby is the strongest lobby in India right now, and that is a macro factor I'm talking about. So what the big guys do, marketplaces, they try to shake hands with that
fair.
lobby to ensure that there is a seamless working relationship, but that's not happening. That's where the macro problem is in India.
But Ritesh, if you really see, 22,000 crore was spent during Navratri alone, right? I'm just saying that's the kind of digital consumption that's happening on consumer products in India. And it's expected to go 3x during Diwali. So I'm just saying it's the beginning of the digital economy. Yes, there is lots to do. That I agree with you on that. But it is there. It's the game is on, and I think the consumer is actually driving this entire behavior for us. And in fact, from a staffing industry also, Noor, right, we have gone vernacular, right? We advertise on Facebook, we go on places which, the rural and tier two town candidates are looking for us for jobs, right? You might think, I mean, the normal, thinking might be that, this is COVID times, no jobs available. No, that's not true. Like Chinese companies are setting up shop here, Tata is setting up shop here, the large industrialists are setting shop in India in big ways. And that's the job creation. And if we as a staffing company are not going to be present in tier two and tier three towns in the specific language through digital, right, which is how the consumption is happening today, then we are losing the game. So I think as marketers, we need to be preemptive with this whole understanding of the lay of the land, and then be there from a digital perspective. And to what Uma was saying, look at the scalability of how many people you're able to reach today, right, because of the digital economy. 2,500 videos is not a joke. You and I know how much effort goes into getting 100 videos. So 2,500 videos from your consumer on their own is it's a great effort, right? And look at the luxury goods as well, right? They've gone AR/VR. They're using technology again to lure their customers, give them that experience of in-store. You can drive the car and stuff like that. Voice search is another technology that marketers are using today to attract their customers, and that again has gone multilingual. It's no more just English that is ruling the game here as far as marketers and digital economy is concerned. I really believe, and I was talking to you about this Tanishq example of buying online and pick up in store. If gold can happen, I'm sure everything else can also be taking that route. And I think you and I as consumers also love that. And that's why I think that's the challenge that I'm throwing for Hitesh as well.
Every time you mention Tanishq, I'm sorry. Yes, Charu, go for it. Go for it, Charu.
Yeah, so I have a point to make here, and it's quite in line with what Bhuvana just concluded on. And this is a very, very live case study. So, for our kind of a product, which is like bathware, which, as I told you, has been very low involvement category and a very touch and feel product. So, a consumer would most of the times go surf 3, 4, 5 shops and then probably take a decision as to what product he wants to buy. But what's happened over the last couple of months is that our digital searches have organically have gone up. Leads have started coming in. So today, whatever consumer is walking into a store, I mean, we were amazed to get this report that most of the consumers, if they're going to one shop, it's 100% conversion when they're walking out of the store. So the point to make here is he already
Because
goes
you're
with
not finding enough store open. That's why. So whichever store is open, I have to walk out and buy something.
no, so
Maybe that's
Yeah,
the
but
big
you're talking about the homework. They've already done the homework. They've already made up their mind. Yeah.
So the point that I wanted to make here is that this kind of a case study probably proves that though consumer might be skittish right now about spending during this economic downturn, but they haven't stopped spending. But yes, their modes of spending, their modes of searches probably has become different, and that's what we as marketers need to tap and understand.
That's still the 2% India that you're talking about. And Bhuvana, be careful about job losses. That's a very sensitive thing. And a lot of people watching us right now could curse us on this statement. We are setting as plus CMOs and we pay for our increments. But there are 27 million people who actually went into hand to mouth level from a comfortable job. So as I said,
Yeah.
all of us are still sticking to the realms of the 2.7 to 2.9% customer. I just want to widen the net over here, right? Because Noor's question is very specific. She's saying, is the consumer insight from the consumers who are not traditionally digital buyers, is that shift happened after COVID or not? And the answer to that question is no. If she'd asked me that, are you getting more digital consumers who are replica of your NCSA who are buying? Are they buying more? Yes, they are. That
You know
answer
what?
I
I'm going to get Anurita in the mix over here. Anurita, your brand, in fact, is a very mass brand again. And I am guessing that you will have agreed, disagreed with all of them by now. But give us your experience. Now, he is saying that incremental. So I am I want to know about the incremental digital behavior, because we are talking about what is the irreversible consumer behavior change that has happened, and why should we get excited about this entire digital push that has happened, right? So, Anurita, what is your take on this?
Yes, you're absolutely right. There are so many points which are all true. All of them are true. Because I think the single biggest, and I was on another panel with Google a few months ago, and we all agreed that the single biggest lasting impact through all of this is the duality, the multiplicity. Everything is going to coexist. There is nothing called singular offline. There is nothing called singular online. People today have got used to the fact that they are at home, and so obviously convenience, safety, security, and everything available at the touch of a button is now something that is inside their coding. Why do you now want to get into parking lots and traffic jams for small things? The other trend that has really largely emerged, actually two of them. One is being very choiceful about your destination shopping. So a lot of all that everybody has spoken about is it's tying back to a consumer actually stepping out choicefully, because she's already made up her mind. She's done her research online. She's gone to all the social networking hubs that she could think of. She's gone to the website. She's done a lot of reviews, everything. And then if it is a significant item, if it is a consumer durable, or as Charu was saying, bathroom fittings, they've made up their mind. So they don't want to go now mystery shopping. They don't want to go, shop hopping. They do not want to expose themselves beyond a point. But in the back of their mind also, what is happening is, why should I do this any which ways? Why should I spend 3 hours looking from shop to shop to shop? Let me just do all the, the specs, the pricing, the reviews, make up my mind, and then I'll figure out whether I really want to go to the shop and pick it up, or I'll pick it up online itself. Yeah. So that's here to stay. Destination is here to stay. Duality is here to stay for us as well. From a spends perspective, TV is here to stay. It is absolutely right. In India, you cannot not do TV. But for us, digital has also picked up. So, for example, you guys would have been used to, the dentist communication that we do on Sensodyne. But on this, with Insta, we've tied up with a lot of influencers, a lot of chefs, and we've launched a campaign in this entire duration called #ForTheLove. Because people are sitting at home and trying out all kinds of recipes. What they're doing is spending time food experiments in the kitchen. Why? Because obviously, A, they're ordering out much lesser, or earlier at least they were. Second, they're bored at home. They're frustrated. What do they do? They need a creative outlet. And so they were spending a lot of time. All of you must have had this moment of, I whipped this up, I didn't know how to do this, etc. But where does Sensodyne come in is anything sour, anything cold, like kulfi, hot coffee, hot chai, dalgona, which obviously was a big trend, for the love of. Go ahead, try it all, but don't even think about your food sensitivity, because Sensodyne's there. And that's how we tied up the brand very seamlessly with this entire phenomena of people staying at home, trying out things at home. So look how the traditional media, the traditional communication, as well as digital is coming together. The other space is that we talk to a lot of experts who are dentists in our case, more than 35,000 dentists across the country. Their practice was severely hit because of this. Because patients wouldn't go to them, their practice, look at the intrusive, mouth close, interaction that they have with patients. We enable them to do a distance connect with consumers. We created webinars for them where they would network with each other. So digitally, we could outreach many of them sitting in lower tier India as well. So that's how, for us, it's very true that the trend of duality, the trend of multiplicity, the trend of TV working with digital and other touch points, all of it is true. Destination is true. Choicefulness is true. But above all this is also the fact that Hitesh was talking about, that yes, we are sitting in a bit of a recession. Yes, there is uncertainty around job. And therefore, what will people be very careful about? They are very, very clear about the discretion that they put on categories. They are being choiceful about what they want to spend on. So health and hygiene picked up. Good food, nutrition picked up. Things took a bit of a hit for some time because people were not stepping up. Clothing took a hit for some time because people were not stepping up. You have a flight on your table, you're anyway being cautious about your spends because you want to just save a little bit of a pool for uncertain times. So what would you spend on? So these are the three big trends that are here to stay, which is, as I said, multiplicity, choicefulness, discrimination, destination, and a focus on essentials. Whatever is essential will be there. But one more thing that will emerge is now with festivities kicking in, is indulgence, because we are humans. You can't tie us up too long. And this is this is what Uma was also talking about. Of course, people want to let their hair down. Of course, people want to get back to normal life. And a sign of normalcy is doing makeup. A sign of normalcy is picking up things that you've been wanting to just for the heck of it. That will also come back.
Got it. I got it. Thank you so much, Anuradha. Ankur, I have very deliberately kept you for last because yours looks like the brand that was actually doing really well when everybody else was crying in the beginning, especially that March, April period when essentials was important. There was also responsibility on your brand at that time because people couldn't go out, and there was, a certain hope that the online brand would actually, like, I live in Mumbai, I live in Navi Mumbai, and Amazon was not working, Flipkart was not working, so a lot of the big basket was like a mess. So I have actually got an offer. It was interesting for me. But my point being, there is a certain expectation that was there in the beginning, and then of course things became normal. So how did this journey kind of go around for you?
So thanks to for having me. I think we are one of the very few industries that honestly, we couldn't, which has been at the positive end of this pandemic. It's just there is no other way to say it. It honestly has been, there has been a surge. I think surge is possibly an understatement. But there has been a surge. There has been a baseline shift in the kind of demand that we have seen since March 22nd. And to be honest, demand was honestly the last of the issues that we faced. The first 2 months literally was about supply chain bottlenecks, right? You know how difficult it is to get orders delivered to homes. And I think some of the people on the panel itself might have ordered during that period in time, and things are. But I think the fundamental point was that demand wasn't really a problem. Demand was taken care of because there was just a surge. There was a baseline shift, and really the focus in the first 2 months was about getting the orders delivered on time, delivered in the right way, and delivering the right products, right? I think assortment itself was an issue. And that just goes back to literally the whole supply chain. When you go back to the FMCG, where factories were, the operational constraints were put. So I think that is where the real story had started. So I'd say that probably April and May really was about the surge that we got. But I must tell you something really interesting here. I think one of the things that I think Hitesh had mentioned was that we saw a lot of people coming from NCCS A1 and A2 rather than Grofers, or rather than the online category really penetrating down further. So that was very interesting. So what really triggered the NCCS segment that really came to us wasn't really the lower SECs. but really were the NCCS segments that knew about us but didn't transact, right? So that definitely was was the second main consumer behavior we saw. The third very interesting thing that we saw was that the average order size of a cart went up tremendously. That is fundamentally because all of us didn't want too much interactions with the app. So the frequency went down. So if you order twice a month from us, that possibly went down a bit because the one time that you were ordering from us, there was almost a 25-30% increase in average order values. Fourth, I think there has, of course, as I think Anurita was clearly saying, there has been a complete surge in some categories like sanitizers, hand washes. There has been a surge in instant foods. I mean, chocolates, noodles. There has been a, there have been card penetrate. The categories have almost grown 3x. That has been the kind of surge that we have kind of seen. So that of course has been another very important change in consumer behavior that we have seen. So I think that of course has happened as well. Uh, One of the other things that was, I think, I don't know who was mentioning, was discretionary spends. And I must say that we've just launched a Diwali campaign, and I must say that it uh, people aren't really shopping for as much as they were shopping last Diwali. And we have real consumer data to kind of tell you that. There is, people are, and I'm not talking of something really flashy here. I'm talking something like dry fruits. I'm talking about chocolate packs. I'm talking about gift packs. We see quite a difference in the discretionary spends on these things in Diwali. There has been a huge drop in ITP scores, and we see it in the business as well when it comes to this Diwali as well. Has the demand for these staples and all of that gone down? Absolutely not. In fact, that demand continues to stay up. It is continuing to grow. And we have seen our own brands, like we brokers' own brands, just grow massively, which actually tells you that people are looking for value, right? People are really looking for value in a very, very big way. And the smaller packs have been replaced by the slightly bigger packs because of the value that it kind of gets associated with. So a lot of those things have happened with respect to growers. So I think it's been quite a journey. Demand soaring, supply bottlenecks, average order sizes going up considerably,
But you're
and
not
all
seeing
the others that I
discretionary
just kind of
spends
mentioned.
increase.
Yeah.
Now that kind of, actually correlates back to what Hitesh was also saying. So I think
Yeah.
both the boys are on the same page on this one. But I think what emerges out is a little bit of a hybrid consumer behavior, is it? There is a section that has already started spending. In fact, to Charu's point, I had Uma also mentioned this earlier. We did see that there was a little bit more than just essentials that were coming up, though the nature may be changing because of behavior and the insights that they have in beauty. But we did see that spends are growing. So we are on the last 5 minutes, and I'm going to get all of you to very quickly give me an update in the next year. The advertising spend in India, is it going to remain the same, drop, or I really want to say will it grow? But I think I will hit myself only if I ask that question. So is it going to stay the same or is it going to drop? How many of you drop? Just raise your hands. Go ahead, raise your hand. Oh, none of you think it's going to drop. You all think it's going to be the same. Very good. I'm so happy right now. So if the ad spend are going to be the same,
Absolutely no.
so that means at least we're seeing like a consistency in behavior. Okay, now next question. Will digital gain over at least like a print? Hands, people. Yes, everybody believes digital will gain over print. All right. All right. You know that we run a magazine, right? And we all should know we are very highly digital.
I must tell you,
But you're
Noor,
also
I must tell you
digital, no?
something new
You're
here,
also
and
digital.
I'll tell you of experience here. For all this talk of digital, and we have had the Diwali campaign, and we've had it digital. We led by the digital campaign. While it will grow relative to the other mediums, it will grow. I'm telling you, print will remain where it is, and I can actually vouch for that in our industry.
Uncle, we're going
It's
to
not
meet you
going
like
anywhere.
an ambassador later when this call is over. We'll call you one on one. But then TV for me was very exciting. It really grew. But are marketers, are all of you actually spending in the same way to get on TV right now, or are you asking your agencies for more bang for the buck? And is that conversation happening? Uma, you want to take that?
Yeah, I think.
So we have gone on TV in this season for sure, and have advertised both in the East and currently are even on IPL. I think bang for the buck has always been the theme when you're negotiating a deal. I don't think that has changed. And I think the deals that you want to get, which are really, if you were to say rock bottom, are coming more from the print side right now because obviously they're under a lot of pressure. But television seems to be an OTT both are in very good demand, especially on the back of good shows. Wherever there is good content, good shows, IPL, other key shows, I don't think there is that kind of leeway. But yes, all agencies are fighting hard to get you the right value additions, etc. And because it is a time where while you may gain, a platform may gain or a medium may gain on the back of another because which is not doing well, it's still limited amount of advertisers and advertising money in the market, and therefore it is important that any channel will still fight for that money, so that scope does remain to actually get that. And I think channels which are conscious that this is going to be a long term relationship, because many brands will go on these medium the first time, that's also going to happen, right? It's going to be that people will grow their spends or adopt these channels the first time, the brand managers. So it is something that the channels are doing as well, yes. But no, I don't think anybody is just throwing away inventory at this point in time.
It is always bang for the buck, but when recession happened, we wanted more bang for the buck of 2008. So now have we got even more bang for the buck by any chance? Anurita, you also want to take on that? Like a little bit more coming from, like, what is the conversation you're having with your media partners, with your agency partners? Let's flip that.
Well, this is an easy one, Noor, that I already said that in quarter two, which is when the rubber was really hitting the road on, and they ended up side and we didn't know how to pan out. Yeah, but frankly, if at all, in all the categories that we play in, we've seen spends growing not just by 5-10%, but to the tune of 20-odd% in our categories, 30% as well in a few categories. So people were setting at home. The TV consumption patterns shot up in quarter two. Both for OTT as well as TV, digital also continued to pick up because people were at home. They had nowhere to do. Then it panned out. So TV is exactly where it was now. And so it's going to pan out exactly as it was till a few months ago. And our focus on TV and digital continues. In fact, all the media continue to play exactly the same. There's no change really in our strategy at all on any level whatsoever.
All right, fair enough. I got this. So let's end this thing with the recession-proof marketer. We are equipped to be recession-proof because we are not seeing, we are keeping the marketing budgets where they are. So all of you are hoping that the consumer demand would be there. While Hitesh and Ankur are more of the opinion it's the same consumer coming back, maybe with a little bit more. Incremental has not happened. Everybody else is still hoping that there is new kinds of consumer that is coming via digital right now. And even if sales has got constricted somewhere, there will be some kind of a leveling up that will happen, and hence our demand will be as it is. Marketing spends will continue. I really love that answer. I also love the answer
Marketing
that
spend will actually increase because there are a lot of foreign capital that just come into Indian companies with rubbish business models, right, which are getting sold for upwards of $300 million. Where will that money go, right? So if today I have a rubbish business model, you as a foreign investor give me $500 million by the drop of a hat, I will have to justify that spend by putting at least 100 million in marketing, right? If you think about it, all big sponsors today are digital first companies, right? This has never happened earlier, right? And the only way the large spends can be burnt faster is basically when it's thrown into marketing, right? So if you go back to the year 2015, 16, a similar phenomena happened, right? But there are conservative marketers like a Shoppers Stop or GSK or like Lenskart, where we have to play by the book and only spend money if you're getting customers and orders. But the growth will not be driven by people like us. It will be the newbies who are investing the foreign capital in India right now, and they have to spend. There is no other justification.
All right, perfect, very cool. So we are looking at a bright future. That is awesome.
You will.
I'm very, we hear a lot of bad things in our office every day. So Ankur made me so happy today. We'll take that part and we'll play it in our company and do a lot of our partners. So I'm especially thankful. Actually, I'm very thankful to everybody. I got a lot of new insights today. Whether it was insight within sectors or whether it was a contrarian view from Hitesh, and whether everything else that everybody else said. So I'm actually very grateful for everything that has come. Any last advice? Now this is literally your last 10 seconds that everybody has. So everybody gets a chance, and I think we will go with Ankur first on this one. Yes, Ankur. So and everybody gets it. So Ankur gets the first one. Any last advice, Ankur, that you have for the audience? The audience right now that is watching us is a very large mix of different kinds of marketing heads. What is your advice to them for the next year in terms of how they are making a strategy or approaching a problem? Any advice? 10-second advice.
Be value focused. Don't get led by this digital phenomenon that it has overtaken the world. Be a little circumspect about that, and take the bang of the buck. There are a lot of publishers across TV, print, everywhere giving you a very good deal. So get into long-term deals so that you can get a better ROI.
Very cool. Now let's go to Charu.
Okay. So, well, I feel that while spending on marketing during this recession might sound a little counterintuitive, but then it can be at one of the smartest decisions right now a company can make. Maybe your competition is not there, and you get the first mover advantage. And as I said earlier, also, people don't stop buying during a recession, at least for the things that they need. But a good search marketing can definitely help brands put themselves in front of the consumer so that you tread along the right path and get your results.
Good advice. Good advice. Bhuvana.
So my 4 points here, one is be where your consumers are, ensure that you're there, and those platforms, right? The
They're
second
all
is
reading magazines, you mean?
yes, absolutely. And future-proof your marketing strategy. That's really critical. And also, humanize your marketing. That's very, very important, which is personalization and customization. That's very critical as you move forward. And last but not the least, I always recommend that marketers also understand technology a little more. So that is going to help you with your digital, journey.
Very cool. Now we have Anuruddha and we have Uma. And we have Hitesh as well. So who's going first? Shall we go with the boy again, Hitesh?
Okay, I think the most important tip I could give is that the next growth will come from your UPI partners. Visa is facing serious shivers right now because UPI transactions are upwards of now 35 billion in India in terms of total output. So your next growth will probably come from people who are using transacting on UPI. So find your ways to partner with the UPI organizations, primarily it's Indian government union, but even the layers which are on top of it, like GP or anybody else, because they could probably have the secret key to your incremental customers coming from different zones. And second is be nice to people. This is a time where you will get a lot of marketers who are generally confused, whether their jobs are going to be there or not. And then again, there's a lot of marketers who are looking for jobs, right? Don't overwhelm yourself. That there's plenty in the market, and we can do different things together. I would just say that help people as much as you can as marketers, so that as a community, as a fraternity, we stand together with each other during these times.
All right, good advice. Anuruddha, you, and then we'll give Uma the last word this time.
My
Anuruddha,
advice
you
is
go.
very all right. My advice is simple, which is stay agile. Be agile. Keep innovating. Don't fear experimenting, but also think long term. Don't do these short term quick things because that's not going to help you. If your laser focus is on your long term strategy should not change after dictators. That will play out. So stay true to that. Live safe, and I agree with Hitesh. Actually, take care of your people. Never, ever play with that.
Awesome. Be agile. And Uma, last words?
Sure. I think as much as we may discuss investing in media, this is the best time to actually invest a lot more in understanding the customer. So invest in voice of customer feedback and analytics, because in tough times you will want to find opportunities, and that's going to be very critical that you actually look at where does the consumer show you those opportunities or your data show you that opportunity? So I would say that becomes a very critical thing to do at this point in time and invest time, money, and effort in that. The second thing is that I think it is going to be a way of life is collaborations. One such thing, like which Hitesh mentioned, is UPI, but it could be other means of collaboration. So collaborations with like-minded brands which offer complementary things. I think that's going to be critical in the future in terms of how you actually bring together various ideas for the customer through like-minded partners. So I think that's going to be a very good strategy to play out in the future. The third is, I think we have spoken a lot about digital adding incremental. When you look at value not just as revenue, but I think it's going to be a much more important services economy and service led economy. Use digital to actually transform the service angle of your brand and see what you can do to actually extract value through that, is what I would say. Like I gave the example of the personal shoppers. So it's not necessarily a sales channel, but see if you can build a service channel, see what you can build as a relationship channel, because that will help in your retention. And retention is going to be very, very key in these times, because there is only that much acquisition that one will be able to actually drive, and it's expensive in terms of what we're going to face in terms of marketing costs. But retention is going to be key, and therefore digital can play a very important role in that. That's
Thank
all
you
from
so
me.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, actually, of all of you. I truly enjoyed this conversation. I am going to bid farewell to you right now. I'm chances are I'll be seeing you on WhatsApp and on emails after this, and we will stay connected and actually follow through on some of the predictions made today. But thank you for leaving the audience at a very positive note. That was pretty much the ask of it. Thank you all.
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good
That was really interesting for me. The biggest thing is, while I kept saying print, 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 actually Business World probably is a bigger digital brand by now, because BW Online and BW TV, the kind of numbers we are already seeing is mind blowing. And you would notice that when I started, I said that Marketing White Book itself is designed as 24 hours of programming, of video programming, and everything that comes out, everything that you're consuming is consuming as video. And then when we actually put out a final product, it'll be as video, while we will also put it in our magazine. We still love our magazine. That being said, awesome panel. We are almost on the last leg of today. I saw a few people asking, what's with all the green? I must answer this, and I will answer this on behalf of our very awesome arts director, Nitin. He picked up these colors, and he picked up lime green for two reasons, and that is our theme this year. Green stands for rebirth, which I think as a society we were seeing at some level. And in business, lime green specifically stands for creativity and freshness in offer. So now you know why you're seeing so much of green, and it's just a coincidence I'm in green. But now again, it's my pleasure. We would be moving towards the last discussion with Mr. Shashi Sinha. Mr. Shashi Sinha again does not need any introduction. If we had a perfect opening keynote with Mr. CVL Srinivas, let's just say this is the perfect icing on the cake, the perfect ending for the first day and for our kickoff. I would, without again any delay, call the CEO of IPG Media Brands India, Mr. Shashi Sinha, to join us. Shashi sir is here. Hello, Shashi sir.
I'm good to see you, Noor, after a long time, and hello to all your audiences. And I heard that last part. It is coincidental I'm in green, but what you said makes a lot of sense.
We are both in green. This is not planned, but I'm really happy, Shashi sir. I'm happier to see you. So we are actually going to ask you a few questions today. Shashi sir, even before we move on, I should tell you that a few things that came out with the panel discussion just before this. We had about 6 marketers. We had GSK, we had Shoppers, we had Grofers, Lenskart, there was Hindware. So we had a very, very interesting mix of marketers, and they all unanimously agreed that marketing spend in India in 2021 will actually grow. So now, which I think, there is this expectation towards that, but there was really no sense of whether that's where it's headed. So I want to directly go into this topic, your topic, which way will the ad spend move? Do you actually think that in 2021 we are headed towards another year of ad spend growth?
So the question is, what is the base? So if the base is like saying our GDP will grow in 2021, definitely will grow if 2020 is the base. So if I may say, 2020 for like GDP, ad spend also has been murder. especially that one quarter, April, May, June really killed it, and even now it's not fully back. So I think there'll be a degrowth if you take calendar year Jan December. Chances are ad spends will be a degrowth of anywhere between 7 to 8%, 10% in that range. So if you say on that it will grow, definitely. I mean, I definitely feel it will grow, and I hope and pray if the GDP grows, because normally ad spends are double of GDP. So if for the calendar year next year GDP growth is going to be 7-8%, I hope the ad spend should be 12-13% growth. Having said that, will we be back to 2019 levels? It's going to be tough for 2-3 reasons, which I'll say. My personal opinion, I hope and pray for once I'm absolutely wrong. The first quarter is going to be a bit of a mess, which is the last quarter for the financial year. And I say that for 2-3 reasons. One is, of course, the cases, while they're reducing at the rate, but they're still there. So a lot of metro cities are still under some kind of, I won't say lockdown, but some kind of control. And the metro consumption is pretty high. It's about 35-40% consumption of the country. So there is a bit of an issue there. A lot of advertisers and marketeers have taken a beating this year. And unfortunately, even though I'm very proud of the profession of advertising, finally, people always look at balance sheets and and P&Ls, and as a result, you tend to save money. And a lot of Indian companies who have March closing will see the effect of pandemic on the balance sheet this year. Whatever the growth is not going to come back to 2019 levels. So as a result, the first quarter is going to be under pressure. So in my mind, yes, there will be growth. Yes, there are very good signs. We are very positive. But if you're comparing with 2020, it's artificial comparison. If you're comparing with 2019, it may not be as robust as we expect it to be.
That is as per expectations. There was a sense that ad spend would be affected. But for giving a sense, let's go sector wise. There were certain sectors that actually did really well in this year. If you pick up FMCG, globally HUL and UL, globally Unilever and P&G both said that they're going to increase their ad spends. I was seeing the reports of the quarterly reports of Facebook and Google, and they all have grown in their advertising spends, and Google was apparently better than expectations too. So it seems that there is a certain sector on that side which is the client that is willing to spend, and then there are certain marketers who have seen advertising spend come in. So now, which will be the sectors that will at least continue to grow in the next year?
So, I would give that answer in two ways. One is definitely the obvious sectors will grow, I think, and I'll call out 2-3 of them. But to my mind, there's a nuance to this. It's not only sectors, but very company-specific performance. Because, this lockdown, I mean, this pandemic has been so devastating that some branches have got affected, markets have got affected. So you don't know. So it'll be unfair to make a sweeping generalization. Having said that, let me give an attempt. So as you called out, CPG, FMCG definitely will come back. CPG had a great year, especially the food companies in the health business had a great quarter because people were at home and consuming for obvious reasons. So some of that has slowed down, by the way. So most people are not saying that, but there is a bit of a slowdown in consumption as people start going out. But I think hygiene is here to stay. Food will always grow. There may be down trading, so value may come down because there will be a tight year. But volumes will keep growing, hygiene and all that. So you're absolutely right. The kind of names you took as companies, they will grow. Mark you that the problem is going to be that these companies will grow in their ad spends, but they also, because they're growing, they'll extract their value. So it's like this, to give you a dramatic example, in the lockdown, my client Amul was spending, or a few clients were spending. But then, because they knew they were the only ones spending, they were wanting extraction of value for that, which may not good for my friends in the media. So it's a balanced response which I'm giving. That's one point. The second point is sectors like e-com. I mean, everyone's talking about digital, and this whole digital play which is happening. You see the patterns on IPL. It's a good thing. The IPL has been very good. It was almost 60-65% digital companies, EP companies which are there. And a lot of them, whether it's education, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's gaming, whatever it is. So all these guys will obviously continue building the momentum. So there will be momentum there with digital companies. Unfortunately or fortunately, you cannot predict because a lot of this is venture capital funded. It's not really revenue driven. So so sitting here, so I hope and pray they keep going the way they're going. Is good for the industry. But sitting here, one cannot predict what's going to happen in terms of the highs and lows because of the funding they get. And even the big players, because there's so much demand, they're not able to keep. So the e-commerce companies will probably not spend to their potential, but they will spend. I hope and pray auto comes back. So just now the signs for auto are very good. If you see these pre-festive, it's a combination of festive. It's a combination of, if I may say so, pipeline being filled. You know, so while the good logic of social distancing is coming in, but I think it's a combination of pipeline being filled and festive. I hope and pray this continues because that, in a way, as the Prime Minister said yesterday, day before, is a clear indicator. Auto is a very large manufacturing base. So it's a clear indicator for the health of the economy in the country because it has a huge downstream effect on everything else it does. So if auto grows, I think we'll be in good shape. I suspect auto will grow after April. It may not grow last quarter because registrations in December normally people don't register cars and all that. So the surprising thing to me, two wheelers. I thought two wheelers would go faster than four wheelers, but their thing. The one category which is under leveraged in the ADEX is BFSI. So BFSI is there, but I personally feel I'd be very very gung ho on BFSI. You know, I think banking finance. That's because that's what so much of uncertainty. People are going to go back to whatever is encapsulated in the category. That sense of security you have with high inflation and stuff like that. So you go back to the banks and there's so many options. Customer choice has become important. So that is a category. If we should do reasonably well. It's a small part of the ADEX, but that should do well. So I'd call out these three more categories. Within that, there are small segments, health and hygiene, so obvious segments and all. But broadly speaking, CPG, auto, digital companies, and BFSI are the ones which should probably do well.
In fact, I saw a lot of auto manufacturers are launching right now, and there was like a TAM report also that there was an upsurge expected in addicts from auto. So I think that your point there, some of that we are seeing. BFSI also I agree because health insurance, we are seeing health insurance really pick up, people getting serious. But Shashi said there are so many categories that have got so badly hit. If we talk about tourism, if we talk about hospitality, aviation also in a way has got really badly hit. Now, what happens for the marketers of these categories? Now, how are you seeing them in the next year, their behavior? Will they completely fall off or will they still try and do something? If they try and do something,
Yeah, absolutely. No, so I think so. There are two parts. One is as addicts, they probably are smaller categories. Unfortunately for them, and thankfully for us, there But I would say, and I was listening into the previous panel, I think good marketers, and I've seen a lot of them in action in the last 4 5 months. They will do something. So within their resources, within their budgets, be it hospitality, a lot of people are doing stuff. It's not that it's happening. Unfortunately, in this country, tracking digital spends is difficult, so you don't know what's happening. You only go by mass media. But I think a lot of them will bring CRM programs, will bring loyalty mechanisms into place. Will entice customers. So I think tourism hospitality definitely has some of the categories which you mentioned. The smart marketers will always find ways and means because finally, the kind of people who consume, if you think about it carefully, are not the people who've been as dramatically affected. They're not the people, who consume hospitality and tourism who are the migrant labor. So they have the holding power, they have the wealth. It's just that you have to change the mindset to say consume more. This is the time to come and so I think this is the time the men will be stand out or the women will stand out from the boys and the girls because this is where if smart people, if you think and nothing will happen, then nothing will happen. But if you do some stuff, and doesn't have to be expensive, it's not about money, it's about initiatives. If you take initiatives, I think genuinely there's opportunities about looking at segments, looking at a lot of the stuff, and a lot of people are doing it.
so I should bring out the media part of over here. You mentioned down trading value. I guess as an industry, we already know that's really happening. Already media was in India was under indexed. And now one would imagine that right now that would probably get pushed down a little bit more. But to the point that you just made, that there will be a section of marketers who may want to at least stay active. So do you think, or are you seeing media companies coming up with maybe innovations or maybe solutions that are not value driven, but at least ensure some kind of continuity in activity? Are you seeing media companies being aggressive
So I
in this?
think a lot of things they're doing, but my big appeal, and this is appeal across media, I think some of the big media, because these are conglomerates who are across platforms, and unfortunately, a lot of them, it's very true for print, it's also partly true for television. Yeah. So I think, and we have, some of us in the media industry have, in the media agency industry have wondered why they're not packaged well? Why not package a holistic solution which is TV plus digital or print plus digital? And when I say TV plus digital and print plus digital, I don't mean simply selling it together. That's a very basic stuff. But see, today it's all about finding engagement, conversions, conversations, and conversions. So print gives you, or TV gives you the credibility, gives you the reach, gives you the communication power, and then you use your digital to carry it forward. For example, if you give an example, an automaker, if you have a big automaker, let's say Tata Motors in my case, went on to print in a certain market, and then say, listen, did a call back, and the call back came to digital, and the entire engagement there and on digital would be a lot more value to the client. So instead of just doing mass media on television, which Tata Motors measures on the inquiries they reach, they would be adding a service. So it would not be about one media or the other. So some reason I'm not able to crack either, and it's not about capability. But I think this is a great time to link your platforms, and they're the same owners. So Times of India has print, and they also have very strong India Times digital capability. So I think that is the way innovation should work, where it is, in a way, what I said in some of the context is a funnel, marketing funnel. So you're doing top end funnel, bottom funnel. You're doing both the actions together. So full funnel action rather than just, and there's the ability. That is supply their mind and do it. And in my mind, that should be the holy grail for 2021.
All right, I understood. We are talking about ad spend. We will have to talk media. You heard the previous panel. Actually, one of them did think print will not get affected, and he thought print will stay where it is, etc., etc. It was interesting for me to hear that. But if you had to see all the media between, which one do you think is going to see growth? Is there anything that will be hit? What is your take on that?
So, with my age and I'm old fashioned, I grew up with print and I heard that panel in the tail and I was quite surprised and impressed by what they're saying. But I worry for my print friends. So, so what may happen? The rural print, not rural, sorry, but the upcountry print, what we call Bharat print or whatever, may still bounce back because those economies are doing well and the CPTs are very good, circulations are wide. So there are two strategies there. Maybe the cover price increase will help because it's not in India, as you know, print cover prices are very low, but that will help them offset some of the losses. I really worry for the big city metro phenomena because here the habit is gone. So as it is, youngsters were not want print; they were on to digital or whatever. And with a 6-month, 5-month break of no supply, the habit will break. And print, as you know, is a habit. So I'd be very intrigued. In fact, listening to the panel, and I was thinking, my God, they are pretty half my age, all of them, and all of them are supporting print. And here I am saying, print is under pressure. So maybe I'm missing a trick. So I need time to regroup and think through. But if I feels, I would be concerned for metro publications, and I'm going to do something smart, like I talked about combining digital with print, and not only combining, but doing the way I spoke about. I'd be worried. I'd be really worried because it's the fundamental damage. See, everything else will come back as the economy opens up. Here in print, the habit will break. Coming to the other medium, I think television, same thing applies for television and OTT. I am not too worried about TV. OTT is really made out of OTT. OTT is only finally, if you see the numbers, 1.5 million homes, the top end.
Yes, that's agreed.
And the content in OTT is just not catering to that. It's all cannibalization happening. They're capturing the 1 million. They've not decided to take the content down. So I need television audience up. So television has huge headroom. The small penetration is only 65-70%. And so television is there. Plus OTT is a limited phenomena. And plus the platform one is the same. So for Hotstar and Star Plus, whatever. So so I'd see television, and television is always fueled by the strongest CPG. They're the heart. They're the backbone of television, and they're doing the best. So I would not be worried about television. Digital, I'd be careful. Everyone's going on digital. And I'm probably the oddball who will say something slightly different. I break digital into two parts. Digital is brand display, and digital is performance. So performance, obviously, a lot of companies like the panel you had earlier would talk about performance that's really measurable. They want results. On brand, remember, brand is a combination of the overall budget. So if a company has restricted budget, it may deploy more to digital, but it's not going to be gung ho. So if it's applying 30% to digital, or obviously not deploy 40%. But still, if the budget is not increasing or static, there'll be a problem. The second problem with brand digital, which people are doing measurement, but like television, there is no integrated measurement. Till you have TV plus digital coming in the country, So the brand part of digital will always be suspect, and so there's no way to say what the measurement, what the growth is, people put whatever numbers. But my plea would be to all the stakeholders to say that, third party measurement on digital, the way it's happening on television, and then finally integrating TV plus digital, one video viewer, one view of the consumer is the way forward. Unless that happens, the brand part of digital will grow, but not as per expectations. The performance part definitely will grow.
Lack of currency. In digital, there is a lack of currency right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right. Understood. This is my final question. In digital, we have always seen that globally we have spoken about a duopoly in digital. In India, it may be slightly different because the players are different. But in the year ahead, and we have always seen the top 3, top 2 continuing to take the chunk. Will this trend continue across media in the year ahead as well, despite all these new things happening?
So I personally feel there's a huge opportunity for some of the platform owners, be it on TV or print, to also playing in digital, to take this leap. They can break free. I mean, the duopoly which you alluded to, this is the right time if various steps are taken. The example I gave of lead gen and CRM with the Time of India, the paper, or with the Hotstar. If they do that, I mean, think about it that if I am sitting at home and, the whole family is watching some serial on Star, but the youngsters also watching something on Hotstar, and there is some way of linking to him and sending separate messages, and following it up, because digital allows you that. So if they ingest, in a smart way, use both. So TV is for or print is for the image building, credibility, and whatever, and then you have conversations and engagement through the digital medium. If they go that path, combine that, I think there's a huge story. However, what I see, maybe for short-term financial reasons, they keep them separate, they keep it arm's length. They say CPMs are low on digital, so TV and print will get eroded. If that happens, then the duopoly will not break. Then, in fact, the duopoly will get strengthened.
So we are still headed in interesting times.
Yes, we are, absolutely.
So I have to thank you, Shashi sir. We have come to our end of our time. And thank you so much for all your insights. Thank you so much for this.
Always a pleasure seeing you again. And happy we are all in green today. So happy.
Thank you so much, sir.
Take care.
All the best. That was Mr. Shashi Sinha. And actually, Mr. Shashi Sinha did kind of bring the lens back to what everybody is expecting, that there will be a drop in ad spend. I really sincerely celebrated when the panel before this was as excited as I was that everything will grow and so will print. But we should take his word very, very seriously, and we should plan for what lies ahead. Now, more planning coming for Marketing White Book, because tomorrow onwards, we are going to go sector specific. In fact, our first subsector tomorrow is the real estate sector. We have some awesome speakers who are lined up. We have got the luxury players who are coming in. We have knowledge partners who will tell us what is happening in that sector itself. We have Mr. Niranjan Hiranandani as our keynote tomorrow, probably one of the few voices in India that must be heard when the real estate sector is spoken about. To that effect, I am drawing this thing to a close now. I must once again thank all our partners, especially our tech platform partner, Alvin Vertex. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for our audience, all of you who have been there listening to the last 1.5 hours. And I hope it was as entertaining for you as it was for me. And I have to thank every speaker who took out the time, every industry leader who took out the time to join us today and to give us their inputs. They were candid in what they said. That's the only reason why we got some very contrarian and very conflicting point of views. But that is what makes marketing interesting. So I'm going to invite all of you to be back tomorrow. My lovely team at BW Business World will be on top of it in sending you more information if you're already registered, or you'll be seeing it across our Facebook platforms, our social platforms. I should mention LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. Everything, to be fair. It's goodbye time from me. Thank you so much, everybody, and see you tomorrow, hopefully, and for the rest of this month.